Hello again. This is Ben Hitchcock Cross talking to you, and we're going to get right into it. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so we ended on 28 just moments ago. And now we're going to get on to 29. We were talking about last time again the elements of the claim. Protected class, adverse employment action, causal link. She's meeting their legitimate expectations. It's a pretext. Okay? So it varies, but those are the key concepts for this case here. We're going now, and which one of the points I was making is I think that anything in this decision, now we're on page 8, anything in this decision does not relate back to those issues is superfluous, in my opinion. Okay. After speaking with their staff and Percy and Zimdahl, Novak decided that she did not have enough information to place Zimdahl on administrative leave and have her investigated by Internal Affairs for possible rule violations. Novak decided to get proof of what Zimdahl was doing in the cooler by placing surveillance cameras in the cooler. The surveillance cameras were scheduled to be installed on April 16th. On April 16th, 2 inmates escaped from CCI approximately 4:30 a.m. The 2 inmates ran across the prison ground and climbed the fence. It took approximately 12 minutes to cross the prison grounds and climb the fences and leave the prison area. Since Novak, Weber, and Gusky were not present at CCI at the time of the escape, Captain Kevin Boudry, the highest-ranking officer at CCI at the time of the escape, became the incident commander to take action to recover the inmates. Boudry remained the incident commander until a higher-ranking employee arrived at CCI. Boudry's duties as incident commander, including following the escape plan to make the appropriate notifications, lock down the prison, take a head count of the inmates, verify that an escape had occurred, and determine which inmates were missing if an escape had occurred. At approximately, 4:57 a.m., CCI contacted the sheriff's office. Okay. At approximately 4:57 a.m., Gusky called Novak to inform her of the possible inmate escape. Novak was asleep when Gusky called, but she woke up quickly and asked some questions about what was occurring. Gusky told Novak that it was believed that 2 inmates had escaped and that both inmates had worked in the kitchen. I hope this works here because we're going to work. There we go. That's our passive voice. Record scratching alert. We're going to work to improve that, but that's good enough for the time being. Novak asked for the names of the 2 suspected escaped inmates, but Gusky did not know the inmates' names. And Novak told Gusky that she would contact Weber to have him go to CCI. Weber only lived 10 minutes away from CCI. After talking to Gusky on April 16, 2020, Novak also called the DAI administrative on-call staff person to whom incidents occurred. Oh my God. Stephanie Hovey was the DAI administrative staff person on call. When Hovey did not answer, Gusky called Fesahaya directly and let her know about the possible escape of inmates from CCI and provided the information that she had about the possible escape. Fesahaya told Novak to call Fesahaya back directly with any further updates instead of calling Hovey, the current on-call DAI staff person. Fesahaya told Novak to make sure that the appropriate notifications were being made. Fesahaya told Novak to appoint a PIO, Public Information Officer, to provide information about the escape. At some point, Fesahaya told Novak that Fesahaya would have Larry Fuchs, the named future warden of CCI, go to CCI to assist Novak with the escape issues because Fuchs had a lot of expertise in the security field. After being notified of the possible escape, Hovey is the on-call I'm sorry. These people who she's describing are active, high-ranking employees. Hovey has Mecca Fesahaya's job. Percy's been sidelined. That's basically what happened as one of the outcomes here. But this to my mind, is not only superfluous, um, it's just straight up. It's hearsay. Hovey never testified. Um, wow. Wow. After being notified of the possible escape at CCI, Hovey, as the on-call DAI administrative person, made the appropriate notifications. Oh, they were appropriate. Okay, good to know. Hovey called Percy, Novak's direct supervisor, about the escape at CCI. Although the DOC office staff had been working at home because of the COVID, Percy was given permission to go to his office in Madison on April 16th to be part of the response to the escape at CCI. Well, shucks. Terrific. After talking to Fesahaya on April 16, 2020, Novak contacted Weber about the possible escape and asked Weber to go to CCI and take over the CCI response until Novak was able to get to CCI. Novak asked Weber to take the appropriate actions in response to the possible escape. As Novak made her way, that's a language alert right there, to CCI, Novak had a few calls with Gusky and Fesahaya about the possible escape. At approximately 5:30 a.m., Novak was notified that 2 CCI inmates had escaped. Novak informed Fesahaya that it had been confirmed that 2 inmates had escaped from CCI. Novak was also notified before she arrived at CCI of the names of the escaped inmates. Later, Novak was informed that the wrong name of one of the inmates had been given to Novak. Law enforcement and others, including the media. Novak was then given the name of the correct inmate while she was on her way to CCI, and Novak informed Fesahaya of the correct inmate's name. Let's remember this was always a super big issue with Carr. He seemed to fixate on that continuously, and others also had a problem with that as well. My point there is, it's unfortunate that they mentioned the wrong person, that the wrong victims, I can totally get that trauma, but it doesn't seem to be the biggest. It seems to be more embarrassing for Carr than Carr being worried about those people. That's what I took from that. Okay. At approximately 5:20 a.m., when law enforcement arrived at CCI, the CCI supervisors informed Sheriff's Office personnel that they had been investigating Zimdahl, a kitchen staff employee, for having intercourse with inmates and bringing in contraband such as controlled substances and cell phones and passing that contraband to inmates. Again, could have been put down to investigating Holly Zimdahl for possible misconduct. Okay, but it's just the detail, the lurid detail. That's what it to me is seems superfluous again. As a result of this information, Zimdahl was questioned by the sheriff's office staff. Zimdahl was asked for and gave permission for her car on the CCI grounds to be searched. Can we do it? We can. All right. I wonder who asked her. I bet it was the sheriff. Okay. In Zimdahl's car, 2 cell phones, $1,500 in cash, and a note were found. I bet you by the sheriff's department. The note found in Zimdahl's car stated the type, cost, and places to buy insulated cable carbide-tipped electrical fence cutters that can cut through, 1/18 galvanized steel fencing. Man, I don't recall that at all. But that's the kind of note that you don't want to, eat after reading, or not put in writing at all, or use they're not. I didn't know there was such a thing as electric fence cutters, but okay. And again, lurid detail, but okay. After search of Zimdahl's car was completed, Zimdahl was transported to the Columbia County Sheriff's Office and read her Miranda rights. Eventually, Zimdahl was arrested for being a party to the crime of the escape. On April 16, 2020, Novak arrived at CCI at approximately 7 a.m. and became the incident commander. Novak received briefings on what occurred. Well, but of course there was also Fuchs was doing a whole separate setup there. So, what about that? Briefings on what occurred. Novak set up a command center and office to coordinate with her staff and with outside law enforcement. It was the job of the outside law enforcement agencies to search for and apprehend the escaped inmates. But what again about Fuchs's secret operations facility down the hall? On April 16th, Novak had regular communications with Fesahai in the secretary's office by telephone, since Secretary Carr had his staff in his Madison office on April 16th, monitoring the events related to the escape of the two. It's because that's why Percy never showed up, because Secretary Carr needed them. Got it. These things aren't all superfluous. It's sort of like the truism. If there's going to be a pistol on the mantelpiece in scene 1, there better be a shooting in scene 2. Paraphrasing that, of course. On April 16th, in the secretary's office. Okay. And aren't we lucky for Secretary Carr and all the hard work he does? The DOC escape plan required that CCI notify the electronic monitoring center of the yada yada within 30 minutes. The EMS is an agency that's been given the authority to issue arrest warrants for the escaped inmates, yada yada yada. Okay, I know a lot of people had issue with that. This was troubling to me. I hadn't heard this. I want to tell you all that I gave every story of interest in this whole case to several news organizations and for months, and nobody did anything with it, which is one of the reasons why we're presenting it directly to you here now. Louis Bexler, the EMS director, had contacted CCI to see if CCI was going to submit an apprehension request so arrest warrants could be issued for the escaped inmates. After CCI submitted an apprehension request for the two inmates, EMS issued warrants at about 8 a.m. on April 16th. When EMS was not contacted within 30 minutes of escape, law enforcement does not have arrest warrants to apprehend the escaped inmates, and it could cause safety issues for law enforcement. Okay. But did it? No. Was there any issue with that whatsoever? No. And in fact, the primary issue was that they got the wrong person, and they were trying to deal with that. So, okay. The DOC escape plan required that CCI notify the Office of Victims. By the way, is that all of your recollection about all that? That was the reason for the adverse employment action? Really? The DOC escape plan required that CCI notify the Office of Victim Services and programs when escape occurs. CCI did not notify OVSP about the escape inmates on April 16th. The director learned of the escape from one of her staff who informed her of a news report about the escape about the same time, 7 a.m. Lucas received a call from Jared Hoy and Preston to inform her of the two escaped inmates from CCI so that OVSP could start contacting any victims connected with escaped inmates. Since the name of one of the escaped inmates that was given to Lucas was still incorrect, an incorrect victim was notified of the escape. Eventually, the correct name was given to OVSP and the mistake was corrected. The purpose of notifying the victims connected to the escaped inmates is for the physical safety of the victims and for the emotional safety of the victim. I'll keep that in mind for future reference. Thank you there. On April 16, 2020, Novak initially learned of issues with staff's performance that led to the escape of the inmates. One staff person allowed an inmate who did not work in the kitchen to leave the housing unit and go to the kitchen with the inmates who did not work in the kitchen. I don't know if that was necessary to know, but okay. let's just keep going. The prison grounds and to climb the prison fence. So two inmates were able to make a run across the prison grounds and climb the fence and escape from CCI without the staff person knowing that the two inmates had not gone into the kitchen. Another staff person who drove a vehicle checking the perimeter of the prison did not see the inmates as the staff person drove around the perimeter. Another, oh my God, of CCI on April 16, 2020. I'm editing out as much as I can here, but another staff member located the guard tower also failed to see the inmates as they ran across the prison ground and climbed the fence. The CCI staff was not aware that two inmates were missing until it was determined that only the two of the four inmates that were supposed to work in the kitchen had arrived in the kitchen. All right, at this point, it was determined that the two inmates were missing and may have escaped. In accordance with DAI policy, the CCI escape required that an administrative investigation or after-action review occur to determine how the escape occurred. The AAR was not designed to be a disciplinary investigation, but disciplinary investigations could result from the AAR. The AAR investigation is conducted by Internal Affairs, just as any discipline investigations were investigated by Internal Affairs. Is that your recollection? I don't have any testimony on Chrissy Preston saying that she had even seen the dang thing. Tell me what you remember on that one. I don't recall that at all. On April 16th, Carr determined that Novak should place 6 CCI staff persons on administrative leave. Well, hallelujah. Given what was known about the problems that allowed the inmates to escape, so it could be determined if work rule violations occurred in connection with the escape. As the warden of CCI, Novak was the appointing authority for the CCI employees, and Novak had the authority to place the staff persons on administrative leave pending investigation of alleged misconduct without input from Carr or Fesahaya. Well, that's not true. She had the authority, but not the ability. She had the legal authority, but not the ability to do that. If she did something like that, she would have been terminated. So Novak signed letters placing 6 employees on administrative leave pending an investigation as directed by Carr. The persons placed on administrative leave included 4 correctional officers, 1 sergeant, and Captain Boudry, the first incident commander after the escape. Novak put 4 of the CCI employees on administrative leave without pay. Novak put 2 of the CCI... placed both male and female employees on administrative leave. True. Okay. Totally, the fact that it's that she put both male and female employees on administrative leave is totally superfluous. I know that it's Carr's the one that's acting here. We also have to say that Fesahaya's name should be all over this paragraph because it was really, the testimony was Fesahaya told Novak what to do. So yeah, that paragraph really doesn't sit well with me, and I guess I need more time to pick it apart, but there's some things in there that really are strange. The 2 escaped inmates from CCI were captured in Rockford, Illinois on April 17, 2021. Although CCI inmates were captured on April 17, oh my God, Internal Affairs continued interviewing DOC employees both for the AAR investigation and the disciplinary investigations. On April 22nd, Novak placed 2 female food service employees on administrative leave without pay. One of the food's employees that Novak placed on administrative leave without pay was Zimdahl. Oh my God. Could have said, Novak placed 2 female food service employees on administrative leave without pay, including Zimdahl. Novak noted in the leave notice letter to Zimdahl that the action was being taken because Zimdahl had been arrested and the conditions of her bond restricted Zimdahl from accessing CCI and CCI employees. Now, we have testimony that Novak's not drafting these letters and she's signing these letters she's being directed to sign these letters. So it's not really fair to say that she is noting. We could say the letter possibly, but to say that's, I would say, counterfactual. Novak, Weber, and Gusky were involved, interviewed as witnesses by Internal Affairs in connection with the escape. Weber was interviewed as a witness. Novak and Gusky were interviewed separately as witnesses. Internal Affairs interviewed, thank goodness, other employees as well to find out about the escape and determine if persons placed on administrative leave might have violated work rules. That's a really weird choice of the shift from passive to active voice there. I mean, it's clear Internal Affairs is doing that, so I don't know why she would say that. Dare we go into this paragraph? Let's do it. During the investigatory interviews, Internal Affairs learned that Novak, Weber, and Gusky knew about the stun fence being placed on the wrong side of the perimeter fence and had not taken any action to alert Fesahaya Akar of the need to fix the fence. Those helpless victims. They didn't go and inspect the fence at the institutions that they also supervised. Did you think it was credible that Fesahaya did not know about the condition of the stun fence prior to the escape? Remember that quote? All you know is that you didn't know anything? Yes. Okay. Got it. Internal Affairs learned that protocol notification procedures were not followed. Oh my goodness. And neither EMC or OSVP were notified of the escaped inmates in a timely manner, so arrest warrants were not issued quickly for the escaped inmates, and victims were not timely notified of the escape for their safety and peace of mind. So arrest warrants was, I mean, quickly? I guess you could say as quickly, but not quickly? I mean, that's not accurate. Just as a factual matter, it's not accurate to say that it took more than 30 minutes, so therefore it didn't happen quickly. I mean, that's not true. Or timely manner. Again, it wasn't clear at that time even who had escaped, so it wasn't clear how they were supposed to notify them. But timely, that doesn't jive with my recollection of what the evidence was. Internal Affairs learned that Novak were aware from inmate reports, employee reports of the Zinmil fraternization with inmates in the kitchen cooler. So was Percy. And that she was giving contraband to the inmates. So was Percy. And it was learned that Novak had been given a report approximately a week or so before the escape by one of the investigating officers who had been looking at a surveillance video of Zimdahl in the kitchen, and he said Zimdahl go in the cooler, which you talked about, but with one inmate in particular. According to the information gathered in the investigation, one of the investigating officers informed Novak that the surveillance video showed Zimdahl purposely positioning things to block either the camera and or the cooler doorway and purposely meeting. and doing things with inmates out of the camera view, that Zimdahl had established a pattern of this behavior. The investigation revealed that Novak also watched 2 videos and confirmed the reports of the investigating officer about Zimdahl's conduct in blocking the cameras and the cooler doors and going into the kitchen coolers with the inmates, particularly one inmate. The investigation noted that the Novak was aware that the investigating officers thought Zimdahl might be responsible for the increase in marijuana being found in the hall housing units 8 and 9 since the COVID lockdown prevented visitors from coming to CCI, and inmates who worked in the kitchen with Zimdahl lived in the housing units 8 and 9. The investigation interviews additionally revealed that Novak was aware that another food service worker reported that the worker saw Zimdahl handling a small bottle to an inmate. The investigation interviews showed that Novak was aware that her two investigating officers believed that one of the inmates was talking to Zimdahl because they thought that they recognized her voice when listening to the recorded call, and this led to the officers believing that Zimdahl was bringing a cell phone into the kitchen to give to the inmates. Okay. Wow. There you go. So there is, she's saying that they believe that there was plenty of evidence against Zimdahl prior to. It doesn't go back to what she said earlier, so that's a little bit strange. These are, again, allegations. They're more detailed and lurid than before, but they're still allegations. And it's not saying that there was any evidence to back up those allegations here. Right. See, again, the difference between what Novak said and what others said was the difference between reports and evidence were not the same. Normally, we would use evidence and reports simultaneously here, but not in this case. So, boy, we're almost at the half-hour mark. We're going to pause for here. We're going to keep going at 50. And as always, stick with us. We will keep you informed.